The Flying Eagle Method. Quit porn addiction permanently. No willpower. Written and narrated by C. Smith. Introduction. Friend, I hope that someday soon the switch flips in your head, as it did mine, and you become a non-user without using willpower. It is a life-changing day when one wakes up and quits an addiction. You will then want to help others wake up. You should read this book straight through. Do not skip ahead. Concepts. Addict. If you can quit fapping to screens for 2 months, no questions asked, then you might not be an addict. You might not need to read this book. I recommend you do anyway. But if you think you can't quit because of addiction, compulsion, habit, or curious fascination, read on. Trust me, I will lead you out of the hell you are in. This hell can make you feel empty inside. No need for any burning flames. When you finish this short book, you will know if you are an addict, and that a porn addiction, which is simply a button you press to deliver supernormal dopamine hits to your brain, has no advantages, so you can feel happy to quit. Advantages of using porn. This section is blank. Anhedonia. A frequent skydiver can feel anhedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure in the rest of their life. This is the same for a user of porn or a user of drugs, such as cocaine, because these are all high dopamine activities. Thus, the pursuit of intense pleasure, or hedonism, ironically leads to the loss of it, anhedonia. Your brain is desensitized to the natural highs of life. Talking, smiling, learning, working, nature, exercise, etc. don't feel high like they should. It's like your life is in grayscale instead of color, and unfortunately, you might not even realize it. This is why quitting feels amazing after any withdrawals are over. Your brain's dopamine receptors will heal and reverse their desensitization. Brains. A human brain has 2 main sources of thoughts, a feeling brain and a thinking brain. The feeling brain wants to maximize pleasure and minimize pain over the next 15 seconds. Essentially, it wants immediate gratification. Most mammals have a feeling brain, and it is easily tricked. For example, it thinks that pixels are the same as a real person. The thinking brain gives us logic and the ability to plan far into the future, days, years, or even centuries. Your thinking brain needs accurate information, and that is the purpose of this book. The 2 brains need to work together. For example, if a boy sees and hears an ice cream truck, does he run across the street without looking for oncoming cars? No, because his thinking brain overrules his feeling brain and keeps him alive. With practice, one can physically feel where a thought is coming from. The feeling brain is in the core and is the more ancient and primitive part of the brain. The thinking brain is in the front, behind the forehead. It feels good when your thoughts are coming from your thinking brain. The opposite of this is hypofrontality. You're basically a zombie or an animal, unable to think rationally. I remember raging at things like a toddler, having no self-control. When I was addicted, among all my scary symptoms, losing my thinking brain was the worst. I can tell you, after 4 months of recovery, my forehead, or thinking brain, felt tingly for a few days, like it expanded after years of neglect. Brainwashing. The only reason a porn user doesn't quit is because they are brainwashed into thinking they would be giving something up if they quit. This is a lie. There are absolutely no advantages to using porn. Relaxation. It doesn't relax you, it drains your energy. As soon as you finish, you're in the come-down, crashing state. You feel crappy, and you get irritated and impatient with other people. Real relaxation is a feeling of peace and balance, and it restores your energy. When you are truly relaxed and confident, you can look women in the eye and smile pleasantly. Freedom is relaxing. Stress. It doesn't reduce stress, it adds to it. You always are worrying if your secret is safe. You worry how much more extreme your fetishes will get. Porn can't take away stress from your life. It just makes you less able to deal with it. You have trouble getting work done because your energy and motivation are lost. A small inconvenience puts you into a rage. There are countless other activities you can do if you want a temporary distraction from thinking about problems and need a break. Boredom. It doesn't reduce boredom, it adds to it. You develop a habit of instant gratification for dopamine hits, instead of working slowly toward a small, real goal. The natural highs in life don't excite you and feel boring. Your thinking brain, which does long-term planning, isn't getting enough exercise, and neither is your imagination. If you do as little as possible, which includes staying off of screens, for a period of time each day, it recharges your brain to sprint and focus later. Embrace doing nothing. Don't let porn suck it away like a black hole. Beauty. It doesn't help you appreciate beauty. After years of looking for new perfect 10s that are just your type online, that thrill will become harder to find, and you'll spend most of your time searching in frustration for something new. The hottest, most surgically enhanced, i.e. fake, women are now just ordinary to you. Fixating on the naked, sexual parts of women dulls your ability to appreciate the beauty of their smile or their eyes lighting up when they talk or laugh. After quitting porn, you will be amazed how beautiful real everyday women are, even with their clothes on. Release. It doesn't release sexual cravings, it adds them. It stokes the fire instead of letting it burn out. It puts you in a frenzied mindset of, I'm the last man alive and need to repopulate the planet, and women are just objects. Sex and aggression are closely related in the brain. An alpha male fights for women and territory, and porn videos obviously show and stimulate such aggression, and not in a healthy way. After quitting for 4 months, I have never felt calmer, and that is still true after 2 years. The wildfire is no longer raging. Also, the mere physical act of sex and orgasm isn't fulfilling. Intimacy is. Intimacy is actually an emotional need, not just physical, even for men, and porn keeps you from finding it. Cheese. A mouse doesn't know that cheese inside a wooden rectangle is bait in a trap. Our feeling brain, also called a limbic brain or mammalian brain, is in the center of our head. It thinks pixels in a plastic rectangle are the highest objective in life. It doesn't understand that the pixels aren't real. Our feeling brain fell into the porn trap, but once we see that it is a trap with no benefits, we can escape and never have to fall into the trap again. Choice. Choice is our greatest power in life. Once you realize you have this power, you are like an eagle who grew up thinking he was a chicken, living with other chickens, but one day learned he could fly. That eagle could go back and keep living with the chickens, but he will always know he's not one of them anymore. You don't need blockers or accountability software, although you can choose to use them for your partner. You only need the right mindset, which is understanding that porn has 0 advantages. You can always choose to use porn, but why would you? Cold. If you take a cold shower, which is painful, you can feel good for hours afterward. People can also take this to unhealthy extremes and become addicted to pain. This is because pleasure and pain are processed in the same portion of the brain, and the brain automatically keeps the seesaw in balance. PMO, or porn masturbate orgasm, is the reverse of a cold shower. You feel moody irritable, and tired for hours afterward, as the seesaw swings down on the other side, like a pendulum. After years of PMO, the brain is constantly pushing down on the pain side of the seesaw to compensate. But feeling lousy all the time is a small price to pay for loving pixels. Am I right? Coolidge Effect. A male rat feels satisfied after mating with the same female a few times. Each time he mates with her, less dopamine is released, and he takes longer breaks. This is good, otherwise he'd exhaust himself for no reason. But if he sees a brand new female, a new desire compels him to mate again. As more and more new females are introduced, he will eventually collapse from exhaustion. Perhaps this biological mechanism, which most mammals have, is useful for reproduction after a war, but now it's been turned against us. The unlimited imagery on the internet overclocks your brain, so you are never able to take a break, and it drains all of your productive energy and motivation. Before the internet, it would take your entire lifetime to see what now only takes a few days. When you limit how much new imagery you see, which means being picky about what sites and apps you are using, your sexual urges, as well as energy and motivation in the rest of your life, will return to normal. Education, sexual. Most women like slow and gentle genital stimulation with hands or mouth, and that is after doing foreplay on their non-erogenous zones. And by slow, I mean 15 to 30 minutes for massage, foreplay, arousal, stimulation, and climax, all before any penetration. Tell me how many times you have seen that in a porn video. The answer is probably never. Porn causes sexual autism, the inability to read your partner's verbal cues, eye contact, breathing, and movement, which is the opposite of intimacy and connection. What people call vanilla sex, which feels really good when you learn to do it properly, is what many partners desire, not the strange ideas that porn puts in your head. It's not degrading or violent, and is called lovemaking for a reason. Good vanilla sex can take a lot of stamina because it's done slowly over a longer time, and porn only wastes your stamina, or worse, causes erectile problems. Porn is not an education. What kind of education actually stops you from doing the thing properly? You're better off finding videos from actual sex ed instructors. Try tantric yoni massage or sensate focus. The saying, "It feels better to give than receive," certainly applies. There's an enormous difference when a woman enjoys it, because it means she enjoys you. Fantasy. You can't be in the moment if you spent the prior day anticipating that moment. That's a quote by yours truly. And Alexander Pope said, "Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed." My brain has two superpowers. The first power is envisioning all the possible futures in which bad things could happen. The second power is envisioning all the possible futures in which I could have sex with people. Do you also have an active imagination like me? Dopamine is driven by anticipation, and when we spend time and energy anticipating a pleasurable event like sex or watching a new movie, it tilts the brain's seesaw of pleasure and pain into the up position. Then, when the event happens, it is chemically guaranteed that we won't enjoy it as much, because the seesaw doesn't have much room to go any higher. In fact, the brain is trying to pull the seesaw down to rebalance it. My journey of 2 years has been this. 1. Stop watching porn. 2. Stop jerking off unless my body is uncomfortable. 3. Stop anticipating or fantasizing about sex with my wife the days before it happens, or imagining other women. Now I can actually enjoy sex and everything else in my life so much more, because my brain's seesaw starts off level. Try this for a few days. Don't expect, anticipate, or fantasize about anything good or bad happening, especially sex. Try to keep your brain's seesaw at a level position, so it's ready to receive joy and blessings if and when they happen that day. And if they don't happen, your seesaw doesn't crash downward as hard. It's a win-win. For me, learning why I should stop imagining sex has been life-changing. It lets me truly be in the moment and appreciate real life. Flatline. After quitting porn, you may feel no libido for a long period of time. This is called the flatline. A flatline is normal, and the length depends on how extreme the porn use was and how young you started. Many anecdotal reports are in the range of 1 to 6 months. Mine was 45 days. The flatline means your brain is rebooting, so it will become excited by real women once again. After the flatline is over, physical problems such as erectile dysfunction, aka ED, and delayed ejaculation, or DE, should improve or even be cured. Some men have been going on a flatline for 2 years and still have complete ED. I feel sorry for those men. This is why all porn users should be pitied and not envied. Food. Porn is actually easy to quit. This is because it provides no advantages. You can completely throw it out from your life. You wouldn't eat a poison in moderation, right? Food, which you need to eat regularly as long as you want to stay alive, takes much more ongoing discipline to avoid the trap of overconsumption. My feeling brain is always ready to eat if food is available, so my thinking brain must decide that it's not lunch or dinner time yet. So whether you have learned how to control your weight through diet, fasting, etc., or are still struggling, take heart. Quitting porn is easier. P.S. Porn doesn't help you lose weight, it helps you gain it. All that extra chronic stress in your life generates cortisol, a fat-storing hormone. I lost half an inch of waistline in month 4 without trying. Gambling. Have you ever looked down on gambling addicts? I know I did. Is spending an hour binge searching for just the right new site, video, or person without crossing over the red line into something disturbing much different than playing a slot machine? When hunting for porn, the uncertainty, anticipation, and even fear can cause very intense feelings. Dopamine is highly driven by anticipation, which is why you can search for long periods of time. Now imagine trying to play poker against yourself. Would that be very exciting? It wouldn't be as exciting because you know the cards in both hands. You're not going to bluff or surprise yourself. This is one of the reasons why fapping to your own imagination is less harmful. It doesn't have an extreme amount of surprise, novelty, and dopamine. Do I still remember some scenes from porn? Honestly, yes, but they are much less stimulating. It's like an old, burnt cigarette that generates a small amount of dopamine. What has been seen can't be unseen, but it will get blurrier over time and not dwelled upon. Genghis Khan. Even Genghis Khan would blush at the amount of virtual women the internet provides. Too many men today are Genghis Khan. 500 virtual concubines, but can't get it up, or can't finish. What great news for the CEOs of drug companies. Remember when ED pills were only marketed to the elderly? Even if they're wearing swimsuits or are PG-13 anime characters, seeing too many new ones per month will overclock and dull your brain, and you will develop the same physical and mental problems as other porn users. Give up. You don't give up a poison. That implies some kind of sacrifice. Here is what you are giving up when you quit watching porn. brain fog, difficulty focusing or learning, lethargy, fatigue, lack of energy, motivation, and confidence, erectile dysfunction, or delayed ejaculation, which means you can't finish, social anxiety, the inability to look women in the eye and see them as people, anhedonia, being unable to feel pleasure from the natural highs in life, irritability, impatience, anxiety, stress, depression, sexual autism, which is not being able to connect intimately with a partner, the inability to use your own imagination during sex instead of someone else's, bizarre fetishes or escalation to disturbing genres, inconsistent sleep schedule due to binge searching and staring at artificial light, chronic stress and elevated cortisol, which for some people cause weight gain, slavery to screens and pixels. Gooner. A gooner is someone who fully embraces porn addiction and edging, which is delaying orgasm. They are more intentional and brag about it compared to coomers. They have a message board for showing off their goon caves. Gooners don't know where the hedonism road leads to, which is Anhedonia, located at the bottom of a cliff. If you edge for hours a day, your brain turns into a vegetable. You get brain fog, can't write coherently, can't memorize information, and your dick can shrivel up and shrink. Some even report physical problems such as fatigue, aches, dizziness, and heart problems, because dopamine is essential for physical movement of your entire body. I have witnessed all those statements from former gooners and gooners who are struggling to quit. Some have started a message board just for gooner recovery. I was practically a gooner myself for a few months. I know how much it messes you up. Please don't become a gooner. Habit. A part of your brain, the basal ganglia, is your autopilot. It does things without you thinking about it, like navigating routes you frequently walk or drive. It frees up the rest of your brain to think about other things. For example, you probably don't have to think consciously about where the trash can is in your kitchen. But if you move the trash can to a new location, then it takes a while for your autopilot to get trained on new habits. It will take time to completely forget about the old location, i.e., the old habit. Similarly, you should expect 3 to 4 months for your autopilot to completely forget about using porn. You may think that is a long time, but it's not. It's barely longer than a season such as spring or summer. A season will be gone before you know it, and then you will feel and behave like a different person. Be patient with your autopilot, and it will soon be helping you stay on the right track. Hacking. In Soviet Russia, computer hack you. Movies usually show a person hacking a computer. This is a lie. In reality, computers do most of the hacking into our brains. Men's and women's minds are being taken over by computer viruses, such as Pornhub and TikTok. After spending hours a day being programmed by the computers, those thoughts stick throughout the days and nights. The effects of just those 2 apps alone will be that many people will not be able to build a happy relationship or reproduce. They will simply live in the technology matrix or bubble. Their creativity, passion, and drive will be harvested by the computers and chatbots. Make my prediction wrong, at least for yourself, by unplugging them. HALTS. This stands for hunger, anger, loneliness, tiredness, and after sex. Be aware of these times, or any other times of stress, especially in the first 3 months of recovery, because 1. You feel extra low during these times because your brain's seesaw of pleasure and pain is still rebalancing. 2. You have habit pathways in your brain that are greased up to seek porn as your default pick-me-up action. Great news! Both of those physical mechanisms will slowly but surely go away. It is completely normal to feel them. Just be mindful of them and let them pass. I added sex because the post-dopamine crash you feel after sex is a prime time to feel urges. Always remember that orgasm is essentially a drug. It feels good, but there's a strong come-down period afterward. Sadly, the better anything feels, the stronger the come-down. Incentive. Your urologist wants to write you a prescription for pills because that makes them more money. My urologist didn't even ask me about porn, and his malpractice and greed caused me more years of suffering, low energy and motivation in my whole life, in addition to ED and DE. Thankfully, my erectile problems got fixed after quitting porn for a couple of months, and my mental health is better than ever. Porn sites, internet sites, and cam girls want to make money without limit. Use us in moderation, they laugh as dollar signs flash in their eyes. Do you think they only want to make money in moderation? The only person with true incentive for your maximum health, not just keeping you on life support to extract endless payments, is you. One of my favorite sayings is, "There's nobody I ever met who could do it for me." Masturbation. For the first 20 months after I stopped watching porn, my simple rule was to never fap to screens, only memory or imagination. It never felt as bad afterward, like porn or screens did. But one day, I was completely fed up with jerking off, even though it had been a constant ritual since I was a teenager, before porn and screens. I wanted to quit because I was missing a strong connection with my wife due to another stupid addiction. I also felt that the need to jerk off was controlling me. So far, quitting has been surprisingly easy, and sex with my wife is more vibrant and passionate. She is the only one who touches me, and I get more oxytocin, which is feel-good, love-bonding hormone, from her. I wish I had stopped sooner. It reminds me of a saying about relationships. The grass is greenest where you water it. If you have a reason to reduce or quit jerking off, such as having extra focus or creativity, it might be a lot easier than you think. P.S. A wet dream is your body's natural way of releasing and should be appreciated more. When I don't jerk off for a couple weeks, I often get some vivid dreams. That shows how deeply sex is wired into our brains, and letting porn hack into that is very dangerous. Math. There is an old saying about addictions. 1 time is too many, and 1,000 times isn't enough. The point isn't to scare you, it's to educate you. I am truly happiest when I am doing it 0 times and am in control of my life. Imagine you took a train to your desired destination and got off at exactly the right station. Watching sexual imagery, even PG-13, and having a dopamine rush take over 1 time is like missing 1 stop on the train. You feel annoyed, your time and energy feels wasted, and you have 1 stop to backtrack. You know that missing 1,000 stops won't be any better, so you get off the train and turn around. Maturity. If you are younger than 25, I have bad news for you. Your thinking brain is probably still developing. Car insurance and rental companies know this and charge extra for those younger drivers. Scientists have done brain scans of the prefrontal cortex, showing that the adolescent brain continues to mature well into the 20s, and growth continues for most of your life. I did really crazy things during the 13 to 24 age range. Most people do, because their feeling brain is running wild and seeking thrills. However, it is especially important not to do drugs, alcohol, or porn when your brain is still developing. It is more vulnerable and impressionable. Meaning. Sadhu Sundar Singh was once asked, "What is life's most difficult task?" He replied, "To have no burden to carry." If you have found meaning or purpose in life, such as a positive burden to carry for others, porn will not help you carry it. If you are searching for meaning or purpose in life, porn will not help you find it. While in some cases depression can cause porn and video game addiction, in most cases, including myself when I was a teenager, it is the opposite. The addictions and dopamine desensitization are causing or worsening the depression. What do you have to lose by trying a free experiment on yourself? When I was playing video games every day, and lusting and jerking off every day, and eating for 12 hours a day, all of which took no effort, I really didn't accomplish anything. Why take on any challenge at all when everything feels so easy? After quitting those addictions, I wrote 2 ebooks, took tennis lessons, took voiceover lessons, and did some gig work, created a video series, and read books to my sons and had conversations with them about all kinds of topics. I didn't have the energy for this before, and my experience is not unusual. While one can argue intellectually that everything in life is meaningless, a life without challenge is doubly meaningless. I can look back now and feel a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment that I did not have before. That's why addictions are so bad. They take away all challenge, and without challenge, there can be no feeling of accomplishment, which is a main goal in life. Mellow. After quitting porn, I feel more calm and mellow than I've been in years. For example, seeing a woman smile feels very pleasant, and not just in a sexual way, but in a deeper way. It's like I can experience subtle joys again. Even the vibrant colors of women's clothing seem more noticeable to me. Remember how Anhedonia makes your life seem like it's in grayscale? I feel like years of porn and porn substitutes turned my brain molten hot, like a nuclear reactor melting down. But now it's slowly cooling off, and I am finding some peace. The stormy waves in my mind have changed into a smooth, still lake. It's an amazing feeling of balance and contentment. I believe that smashing my brain with dopamine junk food was preventing me from finding this place, but this is where I want to stay. Sure, I still think the world has a ton of problems, and I still despair thinking about them, but there's also a unique type of peace in accepting that which you cannot change. Mirror. The person in the mirror can be your best friend or worst enemy. They can block your attempts before you even try. We deserve to be a prisoner, they say, or it's impossible. Or they can say, yes, we can, as you start each day. Yes, we deserve to be free. You can go a lot farther in life when the person in the mirror is your friend. Pain. You don't punch yourself. You don't cut yourself. You don't stare at the sun. You also don't have to use porn. That is, unless you want to be setting world records for how long a person can have PIED, which is porn-induced erectile dysfunction, and hypofrontality, or zombie brain. Those injuries don't heal overnight, guys. P.S. Avoiding pain and physical injury shouldn't be a religious or spiritual battle, or make you feel guilty. It is just rational logic. Pleasure. An old saying is, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. An orgasm from porn feels good for 10 seconds. Congratulations. It drained happiness and energy from the rest of your life to do that. It's a zero-sum game. A porn user, cigarette user, and heroin user have not tricked the universe. and discovered a magic source of happiness. They do not have more total happiness in their lives than non-users. This is obvious to any non-user. All a porn user does is train their brain to find pleasure in one specific activity and is unhappy and irritable the rest of the time. Read the cold section to understand the neuroscience. P.S. Your brain gets bored after doing the same thing many times. Porn is not exempt from this rule. Over time, porn or drugs don't provide a high. They remove a low. Which one feels better, the first time or the 1,000th time? Rationalizing. A porn user, cigarette user, and heroin user do not care if there are 99 disadvantages to their addiction if they think there is one advantage. Here is what to do if your feeling brain tries to scare you with a flimsy argument like, "You've been in recovery for months. Aren't you scared you will forget your favorite scenes?" You don't redirect to the 99 disadvantages of using porn. That only lends validity to the feeling brain's invalid argument, and it feeds on fear and emotion. What you do is counter the argument head on. For example, 1. I can remember things from decades ago. 2. Masturbation from memory isn't helping my life anyway. 3. The stuff I remember isn't helping me with real sex. After you dismantle that argument and prove it has no advantage, the feeling brain can't use it again. The feeling brain always bluffs. Call every bluff. Imagine your feeling brain is a dumb electrical appliance. If you unplug 99 out of 100 power cords, which are the false reasons to use porn, it doesn't know you did that. All it knows is it still has power. You have to unplug every cord, every reason. Then you will find peace like you've never known. Rattle. A death rattle is the gurgling sound that comes right before death due to being unable to swallow or cough. After quitting porn for a few months, if you feel some subtle urges, imagine that those are the death rattles of dying habits and pathways in your brain. Your brain is saying, use this connection or lose it. The wise choice is to lose it. After time, you will not feel these urges. Your brain will prune unused neural connections, aka habits. Relax, because time is your best friend. Shame. Do you know why there is disgusting porn? Because they got bored of the non-disgusting porn. The higher your feelings of shame, sin, or anxiety, and the more taboo and fetishized the content is, the higher of a dopamine rush you feel, which increases the amount of desensitization done to your brain. This is why people get addicted to fetishes they don't actually like. Remember how computers are hacking into our brains? You feel more shame and crave a pick-me-up to feel better about that shame, and the cycle endlessly repeats. You can't fight an addiction with shame. It just strengthens it. Learn to identify the cravings, choose not to act on them, and give yourself some grace. Your brain will be resensitized over time to find pleasure in the non-shocking, non-gross, natural highs of real life, which includes normal sexuality. Shoes. Imagine someone said they wore shoes all day that were too tight, just so they could experience pleasure when they took them off in the evening. Do you think that makes sense? Of course not. You wouldn't say that tight shoes provide pleasure. But as soon as a porn user finishes a session, their dopamine levels crash lower than a non-user. They feel irritable, similar to if they were wearing tight shoes. They crave another porn session just to get rid of their hangover stress, which was actually caused by their previous session. Thus, the porn trap is similar to wearing tight shoes just to experience the pleasure of taking them off, and doing this over and over again. Porn users, just like all other drug users, are constantly trying to get back to the same level of happiness and relaxation that non-users experience in everyday life. Sleep. A non-user can go to sleep just fine. They aren't up for hours binge searching or staring at artificial light. They actually feel like a normal person and aren't trying to get disgusting thoughts out of their head. They go to bed feeling relaxed, not drained, and can stick to a consistent sleep schedule. They lie in bed with a feeling of peace, calm breathing, and heartbeat, and they think about the natural highs of the day, like an afterglow. They think about hopes for tomorrow. They have motivation and focus to plan what they want to do the next day, and subconsciously sleep on those thoughts. They wake up energized because they always get enough sleep and stay on a healthy rhythm. Porn does not help you sleep. That is a ridiculous lie. I hope you rediscover what total relaxation and freedom feel like. P.S. More research is showing how important sleep is for mental and physical health. One example, sleep is the only time when your brain can remove metabolic waste, like cleaning ashes out of a fireplace. That's one reason you feel groggy and can't think clearly the next day after missing an hour of sleep. Going down a rabbit hole of porn searching before bedtime is a terrible idea for your health. You can jerk off without using screens if you're that horny. Slob. After quitting porn, I noticed I was wearing nicer looking clothes that I hadn't felt like wearing in years when going out in public. It feels good to look good again. This is another natural high that I had lost due to my addiction. The stereotype of a coomer looking like a slob is true, because dopamine desensitization makes them not care about or spend any time on their appearance. Smoking. Why do some people still smoke cigarettes? Is there any advantage to being a smoker? Do you think smokers are less stressed, less bored, happier, or concentrate better? Ha, it's the opposite. Before you laugh too much, how is being a porn user any better than being a cigarette user? One ruins your lungs, the other ruins your brain and your dick. They both work by keeping you on a dopamine treadmill of hits and withdrawals, generating billions of dollars for a few giant companies. Users are pitied and not envied. The way to quit both of them is the same. Understand that the addiction doesn't have a single benefit compared to a non-user. Spicy. A minority of women like extra variety in lovemaking, such as masculine domination or sensory play, but there are far better resources than porn to teach you how to do this correctly. There are excellent female sex instructors who can teach you how to do it in a loving way. If your partner doesn't like it, why would you do it? All types of intimate sex need trust, safety, communication, experimentation, and connection. That's what intimacy means. Intimacy includes learning about and knowing your partner at a deep level, how they are unique from any other person on the planet, and focusing on them alone and what they like. Porn causes sexual autism, and your partner can tell you are in a disconnected trance. They will close off from trying or enjoying new things. Substitutes. Models, athletes, shows, video game characters, etc. are merely different colored buttons you press to keep the supernormal dopamine rushes coming to your brain from novelty and Coolidge Effect, and your sexual cravings stuck in the highest gear. They also keep your brain stuck in aggressive objectification mode instead of calmer empathy or connection with another person mode. After not watching porn and all substitutes for a few months, your sexual cravings should actually decrease, and you will increase the ability to see women as living beings and feel less awkward around them. Sun. If you stare at the sun for a few seconds and then go into a dim room, it's hard to see anything at all. A porn addict stares at the sun every time and gets desensitized to the natural highs of life, which have less dopamine. Even eating food can feel less enjoyable. Yep, your sense of taste uses dopamine receptors. Fortunately, when you stop looking at the sun or using porn, you can usually recover. Neither activity is ever recommended for your health. Supernormal. Did you know that some female birds will mate with a rejected male if you use a felt tip marker to darken his chest feathers? Did you know that male jewel beetles have sex with a brown beer bottle instead of willing females? Or that male wasps have sex with orchid flowers because they look like female wasps? In the age of Cleopatra, there was eyeliner to make eyes appear bigger, and lipstick and blush to apply reddening. I hope you don't think human brains are very different from those animals. The modern world gives us unprecedented technology, abundance, and population density. We see supernormal hair and beauty products, clothes such as spandex and push-up bras, extra sweet, caffeinated, or crunchy foods, and limitless entertainment and sexual imagery, even sex dolls and vibrators. There is nothing normal about today's world. Our feeling brains are all stumbling around. Sometimes you just have to laugh. Of course, it's no laughing matter for those who are preyed upon by sugary drinks or porn, which both have zero substance, but trick our genetics. The only ones laughing are the predators who sell them, who get rich from others' misery. Time. If you could go back in time, would you vow to never start the cycle of watching porn? Would you encourage your children or friends to use it, or warn them about it? Your time and attention is one of the most generous gifts you can give to another person. Would you rather give that gift to pixels or your family? Imagine you had a tombstone with dates written on it. How much of that time was spent searching and watching porn, or feeling drained and irritable afterwards? How much time was spent locking doors, setting passwords, and acting like a secret agent? And for what? How much time was spent feeling ashamed after being caught? You can't go back in time and undo it, but that doesn't mean you need to be an addict until the day you die. Your chance is now. Spell that backwards, and it's 1. You win your life back and give up nothing. Tricked. Orgasm, either through sex or masturbation, has a similar dopamine level as morphine, which is a narcotic drug. It has a higher dopamine level than any other natural activity. Did you know that PMO, or porn masturbate orgasm, would be like doing narcotic drugs? Did you know that like a drug user, you would spend each day on a rubber band of highs and lows? Did you know your brain develops an immunity or tolerance over time, just like with drugs? Did you know you would be an addict? Did you know you would need a more extreme fix every year that desensitizes you to enjoying real life, or even doing real life? No, you were probably tricked. Porn is simply the button you learn to press to deliver your brain a chemical high. None of us chose to be an addict. Luckily, the more you have used this drug and felt the negative effects, the more joy and relief you will feel when quitting. Truth. Anna Guire said, "Once exposed, a secret loses all its power." Telling the truth to someone about all actions in your life, not just porn, is important during recovery because it restores the split between your two brains, thinking and feeling, and lets the thinking brain regain control. It feels so much better when you are back to living one life, not two lives. Cognitive dissonance, which is doing one thing while knowing it is wrong, can feel physically uncomfortable, like a headache, There has been a frustrating stigma about porn addiction compared to other addictions that are easy to talk about. But by now, the majority of people have either been negatively affected by it or know others who have. So regardless of your age, gender, religion, or relationship status, you are not alone. Tens of thousands of people have visited this site, which is just one among many books and guides. Of course, be careful who you tell and when. Just as men and women can be tricked into fapping to pixels, their partner can compare themselves to those pixels and be very hurt. When you see something. The old saying, "the dose makes the poison," means that something is harmful based on its amount. If you see porn or other sexualized substitutes, turn the screen off, get off that site, or close that app. If it's still stuck in your mind, which happens for those of us with high sex drives, close your eyes and fap using memory or imagination. Why does it matter if you orgasm from memory versus a screen? Memory gives your brain a lesser hit, or dose, because memory is blurrier than a pixel-perfect HD image. And it doesn't reinforce a habit that links orgasm to screens and searching. Using an image or video might also bypass the memory and imagination parts of your brain, which are used for high-level thinking, making their connections weaker. Remember how I said my worst symptom was losing my thinking brain? For thousands of years, people have masturbated when their bodies were horny, using memories of people they saw days before in their town. Yet it wasn't civilization's downfall. Limit how many new things you see and use your mind to fap, not eyes or screens. That will be close enough to how your pre-internet ancestors survived. Willpower. Great news! You don't need willpower to stop watching porn. It's a fallacy to think you need willpower to stop something that has no benefit. People who use willpower only feel stressed, deprived, and tempted, and likely will fail over the long term because they failed to remove their brainwashing. There are no monsters or demons to fight. You thought there was a monster in the closet, but it's actually just a pile of clothes. There's nothing to give up, nothing to sacrifice. It's like learning you can drink water instead of the sugary syrup advertised 24/7 on TV, which only dulls your taste buds and makes you sick and fat. Indeed, some people experience physical withdrawals for a few weeks, as the brain's seesaw of pleasure and pain is rebalancing. Withdrawals are temporary, but seeing the truth is forever, just like when you discover how a magic trick works. The only cage is in your imagination. You can break it and soar. Next steps. Friend, you may feel confused or fearful at this point. This is expected. You are not alone or abnormal. Your voice of truth has just been hibernating for a long time. Important. Do not stop your porn usage yet, if you are currently a user. Keep pressing that button and generating those supernormal chemical rushes in your brain. This will help you see and prove the truth, that it has zero advantages. It also helps to not have withdrawals while you're learning and memorizing all the concepts. If you still think that porn provides some advantages, take a break for a few days, get a good night's sleep, and read the concepts again. Take notes on everything you agree or disagree with. Your porn usage might slowly decrease as you keep reading. You can explore the resources chapter for more detailed explanations and science. Choices. Choice is your greatest power in life. After you have fully absorbed the previous chapters, you can 1. Continue using porn as much as you are now, without any changes. 2. Reduce or moderate your porn usage. Read the Greenbelt section of the recovery chapter for my suggestion. 3. Go to the final visit chapter, which is optional but many people find helpful to say goodbye to the trap. 4. Stop using porn and go to the brown belt section of the recovery chapter. Remember, these choices are available every day of your life. I am the eagle. Relapse warning. I hope you see why this book is called the Flying Eagle Method. Once you see the truth of something, you can't go back to being the same, even if you wanted to. I have the experience to prove it. After 2 years of zero porn, and having a fantastically clear mind and healthy body for those 2 years, I relapsed and watched some old and new porn scenes. It felt wrong, it felt stupid, and it didn't feel like it did before I quit. The warning is this: the longer it has been since you were in pain, the less you remember that pain. That is generally a good thing, but it can bite us in cases like this. We repeat history, even our own history, because our memory fades. King Darius, ruler of the Persian Empire, had his servant remind him every day about fighting the Athenian rebels, so he wouldn't forget them. I can't afford a servant, so I suggest keeping a journal and setting a calendar reminder to reread this book every year. But there's also good news. No matter how many times you open the door, you know it doesn't lead anywhere. The eagle cannot unlearn how to fly, and he cannot unlearn that porn and its unending search for novelty has zero benefit. My friend, thank you for listening. Good luck, live smart, and live free.